The Spanish-American War, Part 2. Faced with newspapers and members of Congress calling him a coward, McKinley asked Congress to declare war. On April 19th, they voted to go to war with Spain in order to free Cuba. At the same time, Congress approved a resolution stating that the United States intended to leave the government and control of the island of Cuba to its people. The American army quickly grew from 30,000 to over 274,000 men. Roosevelt resigned his position as Assistant Secretary of the Navy and put together his own regiment. A mixture of powerful, wealthy men and seasoned ranch hands, it became to be called the Rough Riders. After long preparations, the Rough Riders and 17,000 other Americans arrived in Cuba. Seeing that Cuban fighters lacked the strength or weapons to force Spanish out of the fortified cities and harbors, Roosevelt and his Rough Riders decided to capture Santiago, a major city. To do this, they had to capture nearby San Juan Hill, from which Spanish forces were able to defend the city. The attacking force included the Rough Riders and the African American troops from several regiments. Up the hill they charged, braving Spanish fire. They walked to greet death at every step, many of them, as they advanced, sinking suddenly or pitching forwards. But others waited on, creeping higher and higher up the hill, wrote an American reporter. It was a miracle of self-sacrifice, a triumph of a bulldog courage. The Americans captured San Juan Hill. Realizing that Santiago was lost, the Spanish tried to save their ships, sending them steaming out of the harbor. But Americans sank or captured every ship. The Spanish soon surrendered. The Spanish-American War lasted just 4 months. Only 345 Americans died in combat, although 5,500 died of disease. Many Americans agreed with Secretary of State John Hay that it had been a splendid little war. In the peace treaty with Spain, Cuba gained its independence, while Puerto Rico came under American rule. The United States agreed to remove all of its troops from Cuba. However, Cuba was forced to agree that American troops could return, if necessary, to preserve law and order, as well as defend the island's independence. The United States was also allowed to keep naval bases in Cuba. Despite a revolution that forced American businesses out of Cuba in 1950, the naval bases remain today.